I would like to welcome you to this keynote speech with the title Creativity, Individuation, Basic Trust and Intuition, seen from the perspective of the Trilogos Method. My name is Michael Weiss. I'm Associate Professor in Pedagogy at the University of Southeastern Norway. And I'm also certified trainer and teacher at the TRILOGOS Foundation from Switzerland in Zurich, which I'm representing here at this conference. Unfortunately, as you can see, I cannot do my presentation live, but maybe this is also an advantage because what I planned in the next 40 minutes is more digitally interactive than just a normal keynote speech. Our starting point for that is a chart that I'm going to share with you now. I hope that you all can see this chart, on which you can also find several QR codes and links, which you can open in the PDF that is sent out to you in the chat, which means you get the same chart as you see here in the chat. You can keep that PDF and you can use the links whenever you like them, whenever you like to use them. Good. The Trilogos Foundation has its focus on personality development, offering its own mental fitness program called the Trilogos Method, which was by Linda Rötlisberger. So instead of going to the gym, where you would train your physical body, your muscles, the Trilogos Method offers a wide range of mental training exercises that you can do alone or together with others in a peer group. And mental fitness training is also the link to this conference on mental health, because in terms of mental health, the Trilogos Method is basically about unleashing your rational, emotional, and spiritual intelligence, our human potential, also called PsyQ. You can see it here on the bottom of the chart. IQ plus EQ plus SQ equals PsyQ, which means our human potential. So now, how can we develop our human potential? Let's start here at the chart with the term creativity. And today, not only artists or graphic designers, but also scientists, engineers, and so on, we are all expected to find creative solutions to quite complex problems, more or less on a daily basis. And this can be quite challenging sometimes. It can put us under pressure. It can get us stressed, even exhausted, when we are expected to be creative all the time. Already here we can see a link between creativity and the relevance of mental health and fitness in relation to the creativity that we are expected to use and work with on a daily basis. So how to unleash our creativity sustainability, so to speak. Creativity is one of our individual potentials. Everyone's creative potential is unique, just as our fingerprint is unique. However, as a potential, creativity has to be developed. And the development of our personal potential is called individuation, which is the next term in this cycle here. Now, individuation, to explain that term, think of a caterpillar. The caterpillar has the potential to become a beautiful butterfly one day and even to learn to fly, because that's one of its potentials. However, in order to become a butterfly, the caterpillar has to undergo a process of transformation, of change. And human beings don't like change. However, people cope better with change if they have trust into oneself, into the situation, and into life in general. And the latter is also called basic trust, the term you see here, the third key term in this cycle. Now, in order to explain basic trust, think of Buddhistic monks or Stoic philosophers who are known for their Stoic calmness. The world around them could change as much as it wanted, but they stayed calm. They had a stable and upright attitude towards life, no matter what, because they had this basic trust into life. Now, how can basic trust into life be unfolded? And in order to explain that, we come here from basic trust to the last of these four key terms, namely intuition. Not only in the East, but also in the West, we have a long tradition with meditation exercises, which in one way or another foster basic trust. And often these exercises are based on imagination and intuition. To give you a short and almost oversimplified example for intuitive imagination, I would like to invite you to imagine a blue elephant now. And I'm sure that in all your minds, a blue elephant popped up now. So intuitively, you could imagine a blue elephant. And if you would sit in a room all together now, and if each of you would describe his or her elephant, then we would see that even though we had similar elephants, they were all blue, each elephant would also be unique. One might have a big elephant, another one a baby elephant, another one an old elephant, another one a wild one, or a calm one. So each of us had a unique, intuitively imagined elephant, because it is our intuition that is our creative source. And here we come full circle again. We come back to the term we started with, namely creativity. Now, as you can see, in the middle of this pyramid, you find the QR code and the link. And if you click on that link, an exercise opens, a Trilogos exercise, by which you can start to train your creativity, your intuition, your trust in terms of individuation. You can do that exercise either alone at home, or even better, together with others in a group, in a peer group. In the other, or behind the other links and QR codes, you find audio files. And there is one audio file for each key term. And this is what I suggest now for the remaining time of this keynote, that you listen into all these four audio files where you can learn more about these key terms. The exercise you can do then after the conference today, where you can calm down, where you have a silent moment, then you can do the exercise. But for now, for the remaining time, I would like to invite you to listen into these four audio files and these four key terms. You have enough time for that, so you can listen through all of them before the next session starts. And what I have to mention at the end is that if you want to learn more about the Trilogos method and Trilogos in general, just look up trilogos.com. And if you're interested in the fitness training program that I mentioned in the beginning of this keynote, go to udemy.com and type in the keywords "in touch with your inner voice." There you find several modules from this fitness training program. Okay, I hope now that you will enjoy these audio files from the chart that was sent out in the chat now. You will be finished with them before the next session starts, so you have good time. Enjoy them, and thank you for listening in. And I wish you a nice and inspiring further conference. Thank you very much.
Linda Vera Rotlisberger. Creativity, the power of change. Inventiveness, originality, a touch of nonconformity. For a long time, creativity seemed to be reserved for geniuses. Gifted artists such as Michelangelo and Da Vinci, Beethoven or Goethe created works that were ahead of their time and continue to move us to this day, long after their passing. Then we have material objects such as toothpaste, paper, airplanes, and even coffee filters, which, although commonplace in our everyday lives, were likewise created by resourceful minds. But how does a researcher achieve a breakthrough? How did Werner von Siemens invent the tram? Or how did Marie Curie discover radium, endure the discrimination to which she was exposed as a woman in the world of science, and win the Nobel Prize twice? And how did the American dancer Lois Fuller even come up with the idea of the radium dance, in which she mined this newly discovered element and made her stage clothes glow without any spotlights? In this sense, the field of creativity or human potential is not limited to artists and researchers, nor to business or trendy creative factories. Indeed, creative power is already shown by the toddler who wants to shape something from a bit of soil with his hands, the friend who writes a get well card and finds the right words, the bus driver, the cook, the neighbor down the street. In short, each of us can be creative and produce something that will delight, touch, tickle, or comfort another. Many of the smallest human gestures are based on creativity, and some of them live on in our family stories for generations. Creativity also plays an important role in personality and consciousness work. The holistic approach of the Trilogos Method makes an essential contribution in that respect as well, enticing us to reach beyond the joy of creation towards the development of competencies such that our inventiveness can be always used for the good and be aligned with human values, thanks to our very personal potential and thanks to our creativity. In engaging with ourselves, we get better and better at recognizing our own dispositions and patterns and learn to create new, healing structures that will have harmonizing effects on ourselves and our environment. See Chapter 3. This approach also involves accessing the contents of our unconscious and expanding the pool of knowledge and perceptions in order to create something new. We transition from seeker to finder and recognize our place in this wide universe as a small grain of sand next to billions of others, liberated time and again from the most diverse toxins and enabled to shine in the light, not as what we want to be, but rather as what we are. Linda Vera Rotlisberger, Individuation, on the path to and beyond one's self. At the beginning of the 19th century, the great philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer sojourned in Dresden, where he worked on his main work, Die Welt als Wille und Vorstellung, the world as will and representation. One day he visited the botanical gardens of the city. There he became so absorbed in his reflections that he, as he later confessed to a friend, displayed something so noticeable in his gestures and demeanor that one of the groundskeepers turned to him suspiciously and asked who he was. Schopenhauer replied, "Well, if you could tell me who I am, I would be extremely grateful to you." Individuation, pursued with the goal of letting human qualities culminate into human competence, is a spirited and stimulating path full of surprises. It is not always easy, especially not when it comes to resolving traumas and recovering split portions of ourselves. Still, the feeling of liberation and inner happiness awaits us at all times when we dare to delve into our very own destiny. Linda Vera Rotlisberger, On the Path Towards Basic Trust. When we embark on the search for basic trust, we can start in the here and now, with all the concerns that preoccupy us both individually and as a collective at this very moment. Indeed, the state of our world in the early 21st century represents a true challenge to our sense of trust. Democracy, our values, and our safety are in danger. Bees, insects, and songbirds are dying, and the climate is presenting us with challenges that no country can solve single-handedly. But has it ever been different? Have natural and later man-made catastrophes not always followed seemingly seamlessly one after the other? Has there not always been distress, grief, wars, flight, disease, and loss? Yet whom, if anyone, can we trust? Where does basic trust come from? Where do we find this philosopher's stone? We shall pursue this question in the following pages. What is basic trust? How does it manifest, trilogically speaking? In other words, rationally, emotionally, and spiritually. What is its foundation? And what can each of us do to rebuild our trust and use it as an important resource in our lives? Let us now go back to alchemy and take a small lesson to heart that will allow for a greater inner transformation. Transform fear into drive, grief into trust, resistance into acceptance, anger into serenity, and problems into solutions. Linda Vera Rotlisberger, The Path of Intuition. Human consciousness has continuously shifted over the past centuries, away from the world as it is and towards the world as we have created it with the help of modern-day technologies. We are increasingly inundated with data, so much that about 11 million sensory impressions are transmitted from the nerve cells to our brain per second. In that context, silence has long been a luxury. Our brain does in fact have sufficient storage capacity to receive and identify such quantities of data. However, the processing of data is a different story. According to current scientific research, we are only able to consciously perceive 40 to 60 impressions per second. Our consciousness filters out what it considers important. The majority of our perceptions are captured by our unconscious for self-protection, so that we do not become overwhelmed and maintain our ability to find our way around the world. Again and again we experience how impulses from the unconscious seep into our daily consciousness, namely, when an unerring feeling strikes us, guides us, encourages, or warns us, our intuition. Intuition is commonly defined as a sudden inspiration, a type of cognition that is neither suspecting, nor based on reflection, or mediumistic capability. As such, intuition is not necessarily popular with rationalists proper, who tend to relegate this type of unconscious intelligence as belonging to the realms of artists and fanaticists. In reality, however, intuition is not mystical at all, instead being based on a synthesis of conscious and unconscious knowledge, perceptions, and experiences. Like a compass, it guides us through life, empowering us to clearly assess people and issues in a matter of seconds to make decisions that demand more than pure logic. Our intuition is in deep connection with our true knowledge, with our nature, and with the past, present, and future. Let us learn to integrate them more into our lives, and let us open ourselves to the synthesis of a logical observation of our intuitive impulses and basic trust. This will allow us to find our way in the mire of millions of possibilities for ourselves and for the benefit of all. Intuition is never related to us alone, but is always connected to the collective unconscious through its unconscious part. And that is ultimately what comprises its true value at a spiritual level. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of other opinions drown out your inner voice, and most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want. Steve Jobs. Second exercise, tree and obstacle. Make yourself comfortable in your chair. Remove any uncomfortable clothing, too tight shoes, glasses. Sit upright in your chair, or if that feels uncomfortable, lie flat on your back. Now begin to relax your physical body. Nothing special needs to happen during the body relaxation exercise. Simply take in all of the sounds around you as they impinge on your ears while you become more and more relaxed. Though your eyes may still be open, you can feel down to your feet. Feel how they touch the ground. And if you can feel your feet, then you can also consciously feel your lower legs, your knees, and the angle made by your knees. Simply take in how that feels. Good. In this way, you can also feel your thighs, your buttocks, and how you sit in the chair, down to your pelvis, which supports the weight of your body. In addition, you feel the gentle inhalation and exhalation of your breath with its very own rhythm. Also higher up in your chest, you are aware of the harmonious, wave-like motion of your breath, In and out and hold. In and out and hold. The way you experience your body is right and good for you. Now you can also feel your back as it leans against the back of the chair. Maybe you can also feel the movement of your ribs with each intake of breath. Direct your attention upwards to your shoulders, which carry the weight of your daily cares. Simply become aware of them as you feel them. Your upper arms, elbows, forearms, to your hands. You can perceive all of this simply as it is. Now shift your attention slowly back to your shoulders. Well done. And so you become aware of your neck, your throat, how your head is supported and held firmly. You can feel your scalp, your forehead, and your eyelids, which have now closed all by themselves. Your facial expression in your mouth, which may be inclined to open a little, and your jaw. You perceive your whole body as pleasantly warm. You let the pleasant warmth spread to your fingertips and to the tips of your toes. And so you can let your attention once again flow through your body and perceive how you experience it. You are filled with a pleasant feeling of gratitude toward your physical body. You marvel once again at the wonders of nature. Everything that is still preoccupying you from your daily life now recedes into the background. Your breathing helps you in this. With every exhalation, you become progressively calmer. This helps you to detach yourself a little further from the flow of your everyday thoughts. Breathe out everything in your thoughts and feelings that still preoccupies you. Nothing from the outer physical world distracts you. Your attention is now completely turned inwards. Nothing from the external world need concern you further for the moment. My voice alone will again be your faithful companion on the entire journey. And so, in your awakened imagination, you walk across a bridge to a different shore. In the awareness that later you will again be able to engage mentally with everything that still awaits solution or resolution. Alternatively, now imagine the dark blue curtain again. You close it, in the process symbolically leaving everything burdensome behind you. You will have time later for your important daily cares. You are becoming more and more relaxed. You look forward to the awakening, vivid inner world. All of your cares fall away like autumn leaves in the wind. Safe and secure, you are aware of yourself in this pleasant vibration. Calm, peace, and harmony envelop you. As inside, so outside. Your physical body feels increasingly liberated, as if a pleasant warm wind were blowing over it. All vibrations are now flowing calmly and slowly in clockwise motion around you. You know that you are safe in this mental and emotional connectedness with your fellow human beings and your environment, your horizontal power of thought, protected like in a magic circle. Now you are intensely aware of this spiritual protective cover around you, which you created with your own power of thought, and which is now flooded in your imagination vertically with wonderful, pleasantly bright spiritual light and eternal love. Here, in your cross power, you become aware that spiritual love and its light is the strongest force in the universe. And the second strongest force is your own personal power of thought. With this, you can move mountains. In your imagination, you extend your ethereal arms, like a tree extending its branches. In this way, you absorb all spiritual energies that are positive for you. Like a tree, you too grow towards the light. You now consciously experience how your psycho-spiritual, and hence also your physical body, is becoming filled with the purest spiritual energy, with the infinite power of creation. Here you become aware that the power of God, Atman, or Allah, the strongest and most important force in the universe, Supreme Consciousness, is nothing other than spiritual love and the light it radiates. Now say your prayer again, your ritual again, in the knowledge that you are safe in your humanity, guided and protected in this force. Become consciously aware of the eternal, natural connection and communion, your harmony with the spiritual, which reminds you repeatedly of the source of your eternal origin. You remember that each of us is a small, important divine spark, which, like the fire of life, also bestows warmth and light. The whole is reflected in every part. You inhale and exhale deeply 2 or 3 times. You imagine purest spiritual light within you and all around you, pleasant, bright light which accompanies and guides you. You know you are safe and protected and supported by all-embracing love. You believe and trust this eternal creative power, and again become aware of the deep, eternal connectedness with your Creator. Mindfully, you feel connected with the Supreme Consciousness and thereby feel safe and protected in your own light. You breathe in and out deeply. You are regenerating and strengthening yourself. As you absorb these divine spiritual forces of nature around you and let them recharge you, you feel the world of your inner senses slowly awakening. Like in the morning when the sun rises, you now feel yourself awakening in the midst of untamed nature. Imagine a large meadow, which at this moment has a very pleasant effect on you. Liberated, you can inhale and exhale the smell of the fresh grass. You enjoy the power of nature, which has a regenerating and strengthening effect on you. A narrow path leads through the meadow. Above you is a deep blue sky. Consciously, you calmly breathe in the deep blue. This blue dissolves the last remaining knots of anxiety and tension within you. Perhaps you can even hear birds chirping. Smell the pleasantly aromatic scent of nature around you. In the distance, you see a large, strong tree. With every breath, you feel supported, guided, and protected. Slowly, you move towards this tree. You feel the warm brown earth beneath your feet and absorb the element earth deep into you. Through the soles of your feet, you breathe in the green energy of the meadow into your ethereal body. The green color can even be absorbed into your bloodstream. You now relax deeper 2 more times. Perfectly happy, with a feeling of great harmony, peace, and contentment, you feel the pulse of your soul. In your imagination, you now come to your tree. First, you extend your arms and then embrace it. You inhale deeply the refined scent of its bark. You inhale its full power. At the heart of the tree, you find a soft area, like an opening. Now you can breathe in deeply the element earth from its roots. And you imagine how pleasantly warm it is deep within the tree. You now also become aware of this deep feeling of safety. You enjoy it in the knowledge that you are protected here by your tree. You remember standing like the tree in life. Your roots are firmly anchored in the spirit of the primordial power. Just like a tree, see yourself standing in your everyday life. Wind and weather pour down on you as they do on the tree. Your roots are quite consciously, firmly anchored. You can learn contemplation, and sometimes to be more silent, so that you can grasp the lessons of your school of life more and more clearly. First, stay with both feet planted on the ground in order to learn to understand before growing with one's head towards the sky, because good roots confer strong wings, connected and supported by a strong trunk. Enjoy this harmony with the great sound, and now become aware again of how a messenger from God, and thus also your innermost wisdom, a spiritual helper, has joined you. Can you feel this benevolent force? Maybe you suddenly feel a pleasant warmth beside, behind, or in front of you. Or you imagine a bright sphere of light. Perhaps you even have a vision of your guardian angel, or a messenger of the gods simply appears to you. Delight in the contact with your spiritual companion, your angel or pillar of light, however it presents itself to you today. Trust and believe in the inner contact. You can now begin the conversation with this beneficent, well-intentioned force which acts out of unconditional love. And if for any reason your spiritual helper should trouble you, or you should not feel comfortable with him or her, then you can request someone else at any time. You too want to remain Lord and Master of your thoughts and feelings. Believe and trust that a guardian angel is now again looking forward to accompanying you on a long walk. Make contact with this benevolent power, greet it cordially, and delight in your contact with it. You now take a long spiritual walk accompanied by your spiritual helper. Confidently, you let yourself be guided by him. As if attracted by a magnet, you discover a forest path in your awakened imagination. Always in the loyal company of your guardian angel, you observe precisely where you are being led. You make a mental note, step by step, of everything that comes to your mind, that occurs to you. With a spring in your step, you set out on your path. Everything seems so alive. Your entire imagination, your individual creative power, is awakened and remembers everything. Suddenly, you discover an obstacle on your path in front of you. Examine it carefully. Make a precise mental note of what this obstacle looks like in every detail. and note in addition how you will overcome this unexpected obstacle. Your spiritual helper, as your faithful interlocutor, is ready and willing to respond to all of your questions. You establish telepathic contact with him in inner dialogue through symbolic communication, and remember precisely what now comes into your mind. Make a mental note of all the promptings of your spiritual helper, of everything that he imbues you with. Remember all of the inspirations that occur or fall to you. Is it possible to overcome the obstacle? What is your intuitive impression? In any case, observe closely your current situation. Where are you? What are you doing? How do you perceive yourself in the process? Pay close attention to your feelings. How do you experience yourself in the process? How are you? How do you feel? It is time to start making your way back. On your way back, tell your spiritual helper everything that still weighs on or preoccupies you. You remain in inward contact with him, in telepathic conversation, until you achieve resonance with him. You can ask anything if you do not shy away from the answer. Pay attention to the symbolic communication between you and your spiritual helper. Remember everything that occurs or falls to you, that comes into your mind. Trust and believe and make a mental note of what you perceived. Filled with profound joy, you return to the large tree back at the edge of the forest. Once there, you thank your spiritual helper for the time spent together and take leave of him. You know that he also always conducts you faithfully from the spiritual, ethereal world and stands by you and helps you to find your way back to the earthly everyday life and to continue on your course. In contact with your inner perception, you experience guidance, protection, and security. As a parting gift, he bestows his spiritual blessing on you. Enjoy it. You notice how, as a result, the antenna of your inner perception, your sensory channel to the spiritual world, slowly retract, and how you remain protected from unnecessary mental influences, so that your inner psycho-spiritual development can unfold at your own pace and according to your own most dispositions. Filled with inner peace, you also take leave of your tree and return across the meadow. You remember the blue curtain or the bridge and open or traverse it. You also recall your physical body, and now this slowly begins to awaken. More and more bodily feeling returns to you. And while your body slowly wakes up, you become aware of how you are slowly beginning to discover, step by step, your subconscious as an inexhaustible storehouse. You are now also developing, thanks to your creative thinking, to your creative abilities, and the awakening symbolic language, a progressively better understanding of yourself and your spiritual world. Recall your daily life, your school of life. Health, relationships, profession, vocation are your most important teachers in the school of life. What is your obstacle trying to tell you about what? What does your way of dealing with the obstacle tell you intuitively about your practical daily life, today, now? Can you make a connection to what you dreamt? Build a bridge to your own most truth, and thus to the here and now. Do you recognize feelings which you may experience regularly in certain everyday situations, such as fear, sadness, jealousy, doubt, or powerlessness? Something in your behavior that you already know and have wanted to change for a long time? Could you do more or even less in the future? Now your physical body is awakening as well. Wake it up slowly and gently. Count inwardly to 6. Open your eyes and feel fit and relaxed.